It is March 3rd, 10 a.m. It's a Monday. You know what that means? Episode 9. How's it going? What's up? Hope you're doing good. I'm gonna start this one off not with segments. I'm gonna talk for a little bit and then I'm gonna get into the segments afterwards. Because throughout the week, stuff kept popping in my head and I just jotted it down in the notes. And then I was trying to find a segment that I could fill it under, and I was just like, man, this doesn't go with any of these. And I'm already making a new segment later to get to my list, the goal of 10. And I wasn't trying to just add in 2 new segments in one podcast. That's crazy. So I'm just gonna ramble, and it's not even gonna be the ramble tone segment. So this is a pre-ramble tone ramble. But I was at work and it just hit me. I was like, dude, I realized early on in life, I settled like, look, I'm pointing unknowingly at what I'm talking about. But I settled on so many things, and a few of them weren't. They didn't age well, I will say, for the better or worse. And I'm not sure what that says about my character. Whenever I was younger, dude, like Packers, they didn't really have a problem. Lakers, it didn't age out for worse, but R.I.P. Kobe. That's not something that like they did that fucked up, you know. That's just something sad that happened. But on the other hand, you got like Papa John's. Their CEO decided to get a little racist. Drake. I mean, of course, early on I liked Eminem because like I was a little white kid. I was just like, yo, fuck, this is crazy, blah 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 blah, and I loved all of his songs, of course. But I grew out of it because I realized Eminem was just like a ball of anger. I was like, I can't just vibe with that. That's just too angry all the time for me. And so I started to listen to Drake. And early on, I settled with being like, all right, I like Drake music. Also, in the same music category, Lil Dicky. And both of them didn't age out well, in my opinion. The Drake is like for what's happening right now, of course. Lil Dicky, man, he released an album in 2015 and I stood behind him for fucking years. And I always, anytime it came up with like friends or something, I would always debate that like he's up there for a fan, like a great rapper. I don't know about top 5, but he's up there for he's a great rapper. And then I was like, what the fuck, man? You're just gonna go and whenever he does drop something, it's a TV show. And I was like, all right, I can get behind you on it because I know that there's gonna be an album afterwards. Because he talked about in some podcast his contract was release the TV show and then he's got to drop an album with the TV show soundtrack pretty much. But either way, both of them they didn't age out well. And like I said, I'm not sure what it says about my younger self, judgment wise, but I do know it says I'm loyal as fuck because your boy really does just settle. I was just like, all right, bet I'm sticking here. Like Speedway, for example. Whenever I get gas, there's a Speedway by everywhere I like go, pretty much. And I always pass the Speedway, so I'm like, all right, I got the Speedway points. I'll just go to Speedway. It's crazy. Luckily, there was no fucking controversial thing with Speedway happening. So speaking of Speedway, I pulled up during the New Year. I was like, all right, it's 2025, January. They were still playing Christmas music. I was like, okay, that's there's a little like grace period. I understand it probably goes to like had the half of January, so maybe like around the 25th of January is you would turn the Christmas music off. February came. It's like February 20th. Nothing. Okay, I went in last night. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. I was like, what the fuck? I there was one time because one of the guys that works late at night never I get off at the comedy club and it's sometimes just an ungodly hour, you know? And I just pull up and it's the same guy working every time. And so at this point, I mean, we just talk and sometimes talk about comedy because he likes comedy too. I asked him, I was like, does it drive you crazy? Like the Christmas music? And he was like, I fucking hate it. I was like, that's why do they still play it? I wonder if it's like some corporate rule. Like we have to keep the Christmas music going. We're gonna keep it full year round now. Because that is crazy. So earlier in the podcast, I mentioned I was gonna add a new segment, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into that first. Plus, this is the 10th one, so my list is finally done. I don't know if I'll add more, maybe most likely not. The name of it is going to be Consumer Dispatch, and the gist of it is I talk about like news surrounding like a big company because majority of us are consumers of those companies, or they're going to be depending on the news, like this one. And I figured this out like last week, and I was hype just because what the future means for like 2026. But In-N-Out is moving from California to Tennessee. They're moving the HQ from Irvine to Franklin, Tennessee, and they plan to like do that plus have multiple stores like restaurants open in the area by 2026. So, hey, I just hope we get some In-N-Outs in Kentucky. That would be hype. Because I know Louisville, they're probably going to get it. They'd be the first one in Kentucky. But Lexington's probably a high second to get one. So that'd be crazy. I want to try it out to see if it's all what everyone says it is. And it costed them $125 million to make the move. I was like, holy shit. But you got to do what you got to do to get out of California, man. At some points, I feel like companies realize it's just not worth it. The fact that Whole Foods got up and left out of that is crazy to me. Now, keep in mind, it's the HQ. It's not like the whole company is like deuces. We're leaving the state, but the HQ does a lot where majority of the restaurants are going to be based off of the surrounding HQ, and then the ones that are far away are gonna be like the ones like the Vegas ones and like the main California, because I think there's like two in California that are always busy. Well, there are probably a bunch that are always busy, but there's two that are like famous. That like one of them is the one that like Kai went to on his stream. I can't remember where the other one is, but those are gonna start to build in Tennessee now. That's crazy. Or not even Tennessee, just the surrounding areas for Tennessee, like potentially Kentucky. Wild. And I just know people in California are so irritated by this move. I bet this drives them crazy. Because this was the one thing for the longest that they would just be like the Scrooges over and be like, well, yeah, fuck you all. You all don't have In-N-Out. Blah, 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 blah. You all can't eat these. And then plot twist. And it's crazy because really they're just going back to the roots. They started in Baldwin Park. So, like, they really just went full circle. I'm curious to see if they'll actually have multiple restaurants open by 2026. Whenever I think of In-N-Out, the thing I think about is like cookout pretty much. But it's also kind of the exact opposite with how much they stuck to the core for their menu. Because cookout, you can get a fucking quesadilla, corn dog, chicken fingers, and that's all in the same like one combo entree where you get like 9 entrees for one meal. The In-N-Out stuck with burgers, fries, and shakes. So, but like the vibe of In-N-Out is that's the same vibe I imagine is at Cookout because you go to Cookout and it's usually always busy. Well, I sometimes during the day it'll get pretty busy, but I can't eat Cookout during the day. It feels weird. Majority of the time you pull up, whenever it's downtown, the college area, it's packed. You got people hanging out in the parking lots. You get there's no parking spaces for sure. You got the same two buff dudes doing the same fucking traffic work, being like, go that way, stop. It gets intense down that road. But we're getting all these new like we got a Bucky's a while ago, and then now people have just gotten used to the Bucky's. Now they're adding a Publix. I'm like, okay, we're eventually 2026 potentially gonna get an In-N-Out. This is wild. Everything's coming to us. Okay. The only thing I can imagine now we're gonna get is like a Wawa. And I don't know why we would get a Wawa because what that essentially is like a 7-Eleven, kinda. But pretty much it's just like they don't always have gas pumps. but it's just like a convenience store. But I could see some sort of company like Wawa being like, we want to expand the name out there, or like whatever company above Wawa, whatever mother company that owns them, would buy a whole brand of gas stations in Kentucky and just like, we're gonna rebrand these to these versions of Wawa knockoffs. So, but they're coming for sure. I have a feeling a lot of companies on that side of the country is going to be moving just naturally over time. So shout out to potentially getting an In-N-Out in 2026. But I've been, man, I've been waiting to do this, and this is gonna hurt me to do. It really is, but it has to be done. This is carb review, and Ian Bag came, and it was crazy. We had Dale Jones and then Ian Bag. It was like back to back, and dude, I hate to say it. Well, I don't. It's not that I hate to say it because that sounds fucked up on Dale. But wow, my opinion on Ian has not changed. He's still a fantastic guy. He's still so funny, but he's got to be knocked down to number two. And it's not for like his comedy's sake. His comedy's sake is still he's my number one that I've seen. But for the overall weekend, Dale Jones has to be number one and Ian Bag is number two. Because Ian Bag is so nice, so funny. He bought us all pizza again at on the last show. It was like 5 pizzas from Sir Pizza, and it's big pizzas. They Chicago cut it in square. It was crazy. So much pizza. I had like 5, 6 slices. But he can be the greatest guy ever. He brings in an awful crowd, and it's so sad because not only is it the crowd where all of the friends of the club they show up and they come support, it's also the ones where it's a perfect name for people like, hey, you should go see this. So it's a lot of people that don't know who he is. You're in Kentucky, he's extremely liberal. He's gonna say some shit to get people riled up. And Kentucky, I always say, you can't play the comedy club, and then whenever you're on stage, just be super like patient to get to your next bits. You have to. They will literally ha 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 stop laughing, ha 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 stop laughing. All right, get to the next joke, and then if you don't get to the next joke, there's just gonna be an awkward silence. And I'm sure I've bitched about this on the podcast before. Whenever that awkward silence is happening, somebody in the back, inevitably, if it's a sold out show, most of the time that they leave an awkward silence, there's going to be somebody that's just like, well, thank you for giving me this opportunity, Ian. I'm going to take this time to add my portion to the show. And that is just crazy, but that is his fan base that he brings. I don't know why. I take all of that back. I know exactly why. This is what happens whenever you do nothing but crowd work clips, man. Like all of his Instagram clips are just him talking to people. So whenever you do that, people go to your show being like, I'm gonna be on Instagram. My goal is to say something outrageous and then get put on his Instagram. Like many people have said this weekend that work at the comedy club, you gotta reap what you sow. And that is a perfect explanation of reaping what you sow. Because he gets up there and it's a controlled chaos to him. To us, we're going fucking bananas because we don't know what's happening. I mean, we know what's happening. But compared to every show that we do, we're like, we're going to police the room. We can stop people from talking, or this person just yelled out to the stage. That's not even allowed. We got to stop that. That's heckling. He encourages it. He takes it and runs with it. He'll either make them feel stupid or like turn the crowd against them if he like doesn't like them, or if sometimes they'll say something and he actually laughs and he's like, oh yeah, and he also thinks they added to the show. And so that's completely foreign compared to what we usually do. That's also what he is known for, though. So it's a tightrope to walk, and some comedians are They can't do that for sure. They get up there and they try to do what Ian does because realistically, if it is a very awkward crowd and he can't get anyone to talk, he does have a set. But the way he, and I've said this many of times on previous podcasts, the way he maneuvers his set with talking to the crowd work, it's genius to be honest. But whenever he's just feeling himself and he's just having a good time, like the first show on Thursday, he went over. It was crazy. He went so over. And it was a one show and it felt like two shows really. I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, it hurts to say, but I have to do it. He's getting Dale Jones is number one, Ian Beck is number two. That's what happens whenever you bring a bad crowd. Like, for example, Donnie Baker, yeah, right there. I always enjoyed his shows whenever he came because it was crazy. It was whenever I first worked at like my first Donnie Baker show. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I was like, this is wow. But then I started to enjoy it and appreciate it, and I was like, all right, bet I can appreciate Donnie Baker. But his crowd makes people hate his entire weekend. And rest in peace, Donnie Baker. But that's pretty much what I'm getting at with Ian Back. He's building this crowd that is inevitably just obnoxious. They come in entitled. And that also comes to play whenever you have a Facebook crowd. I realized a lot of stereotypes with social medias. There's differences between TikTok crowds, Facebook crowds, Instagram crowds, YouTube crowds. It's insane. And you can ask them like, "Oh, you're from TikTok, aren't you?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, how'd you know?" It's like, dude, the way you're fucking acting. It's like these people never have gone to a movie theater and just sat down and quietly watched a movie. They every single time they had to have gone in and sat down and just been like, "Oh yeah, how about that? Oh yeah, that was a crazy scene." Blah blah blah. It blows my mind, dude. Plus, his crowd is also an older crowd because he's been doing it for so long. But he's so good at it to where the older crowd tells their kids, "Hey, you should go see Ian Beck. He's in town." "I don't want to. I'm too tired, but you should go." And so they come, not knowing what they're getting into, and then they're like, "Oh shit." It can be a mess, depending on which angle you're looking at it. If you're looking at it as like the servers or the bartenders, you're probably chilling because they do tip well because I think all of them realize how they act. So it's more of a hey, look, we're acting like this, but we're paying like this. So it's it makes up for it. We don't get the tip money, motherfuckers. We're supposed to be the bad guys. The servers are the good guys. So whenever we piss them off, it doesn't fuck the servers tip up. But they really show the true them whenever they're like, all right, bet I'm gonna act how I want to act because I'm paying good money. Dog, they act so fucking entitled. It is insane. Plus, it's like a sold out show. Almost every show he had was sold out. That's 250 plus people in one room, like just sitting together. That means statistically, some people are not going to show up. So there's going to be an empty table. But if someone wants to go and sit at that empty table, they can't because, ironically enough, they get up and go sit at the table without telling anybody. We come in with that group of four that had that reserved table, but they were just a little later than the other people. We go to take them in, and we're like, "Oh, well, who the fuck is this?" And then to go and ask them, "Hey, were you sat here?" And they're like, "Yeah." They lie, and I'm like, okay, let me go ask." I tell the four, I'm like, "Hey, just wait right here for a second. Run up, go ask, figure out they were lying, go tell them to move back." And it's just a whole fucking situation that they can't comprehend because they think they can do what they want. It is an entitlement that comes from Facebook crowds. My favorite crowd, I'm not gonna lie, YouTube and Instagram. YouTube is just used to sitting there and watching. They know what the fuck they're doing. I respect the YouTube crowd almost every single time. Instagram crowd is just more of like they don't know what the fuck's happening. It's because most of the Instagram crowd is kind of like my age, really. or just like a 30 to 40-year-old woman. And you're like, where, how did your feed get hit with the sponsored post? What is happening right now? And if you live in like Lexington or the surrounding counties, whenever you're on social media, it's interesting to like notice which comedians sponsor their post towards you. Because like whenever you're doing a sponsored post, you can make it just like a very general audience, or you can get it very specific. And I noticed there's some comedians that I will get the sponsored post for, and then there's some that I don't get it for, but then like my friends will, and they're like, "Oh shit, they're coming," and I'm like, "Well, I didn't see that," and I've been scrolling on Instagram, and then you can see which ones are like, I'm not even gonna post on Instagram. I'm only gonna post on a sponsored post on Facebook. The one crowd I don't know how they act in, because I don't know if this is even possible to do, but promoting a show on X or Twitter, I've yet to see people like acknowledge, "Oh yeah, I came from uh, your post on X." I've yet to see that. I don't want to know what it would look like. I feel like that's one of those things we're gonna have to figure out the hard way. But yes, that was my car review on Ian Bag. And it sucks that he brings an awful crowd, but that's just how it be, man. For comedy's sake, they're a great crowd because they will laugh at jokes. They're not like, "Oh yeah, give us better jokes." They'll laugh at jokes, even like if you give have like a give me joke, they'll laugh at that just naturally. I mean, it's a steep drop after like a 3 second laugh, but they will laugh. Along with laughing, they will also talk to each other if it gets silent. And then fuck, whenever it's not silent, they'll just talk to each other but yell because it's loud and they have to hear, they can't hear each other. It's chaotic. Controlled chaos. So I'm gonna transition to certified banger. This is for J. Cole. He released Clouds, and it's spelt like lowercase c, all capital, loud, lowercase s. So I went into it being like, all right, he's for sure talking about smoking. Respect it. The beat, it's a good beat. I feel like I can always appreciate a J. Cole beat. But, and he's still talking tough, which is crazy. Like there's lyrics in there in the beginning of it that's more referring himself as like a C4 underneath the Jeep ready to blow once you turn the ignition. It's like, dog, you're nothing like that. What are you talking about? You might be ready to crash out, but you can't sound tough. It's like how I was mentioning Drake sounding tough in his song. You gotta realize your public view is like you're soft now. You went on stage and you apologized to Dreamville. And I like J. Cole. I'm not trying to shit on J. Cole. It's just whenever I hear him say those things, all I can think about is him on stage apologizing. Which kind of goes to my next thing is he made a reference to him being the bullet that missed Trump. And I started to question. I was like, is he talking about Kendrick being lucky and dodging a bullet because he bowed out? Or is it vice versa? And J. Cole is lucky that he didn't fuck his career up by going at Kendrick and getting demolished. Because the way he was talking was for sure hinting at one of those. But I will say, he has a bar that says, "If you don't water your lawn, it won't stay green." That's a fucking bar. That I was like, hey, you're onto something with that one. And I can also appreciate that he openly talks about God. Some artists are like, they'll go on podcast or they'll go on some type of like live or something and they'll talk about God, but then in their music, they just like, "Oh, nope, 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 not touching it. It's too polarizing." He doesn't care. He'll talk. He basically puts his life out there in his music, so it makes sense. But I can respect that because then he also moves into giving us a warning on AI, and man, he is not wrong. I'm curious whenever he actually like made that song and said that specific line about the AI, because he might have been like ahead of the times really, and he had to probably released it because he was like, I should have released this earlier. I was telling them that this was gonna happen. But major record labels are already suing AI like song generating companies like Suno and stuff like that for plagiarism, which is crazy. If it's already happening now, then a year from now, 2 years from now, it's got the technology AI is going to be able to do. We're not even going to realize this isn't a real song. That's insane. I do want to add though, it is a huge flex, I feel like, whenever you're looking at the lyrics of a song and it ends, and then usually it has like written by, and then there's just like a list of names, or there's like a list of like at least 3 or 4 names. Whenever you go to a J. Cole, it's just written by J. Cole. That's a flex to me. And I know it kind of looks like I'm shooting a shot at a specific person, at Drake, but I'm not. I'm just saying, whenever you see just the artist name, only one name up there, that looks like a flex. Overall, like certified banger, I don't think so, really. This is like the middle ground for me of like I don't like it, I don't dislike it. I'm for sure not adding it to my playlist. I have so every year I'll make no, I say that every year as if I've been doing it for a long time, but my thing with music is one time a year I try to start from 2000 because whenever I was born and go through 2001, 2, 3 every year like a playlist of that year of like rap music and hip hop for up until the current year. I just recently started making the 2024, 2023, now I'm making the 2025 playlist. I will add this to it. Well, I mean, maybe I'll probably add it, and then if he drops, if I'm saying that big, if he drops the fall off, then I'll add like a song from that, and then probably remove clouds. But as to the playlist that I listen to on the daily, no shot on adding it to. It's half of it's just like the same chorus and hook. He's got a few warnings in there that are actually facts, but it's just too kind of topical, I feel like. Which is probably why because it feels like a filler that was going to be on Fall Off. And then he was like, this is two of the times. I'm just going to go ahead and drop this now and see how it feels. Because it's not a bad song, but it's just not like an it song, you know? It feels like this is a filler. This is going to be number 4 or 5 on the album. I respect him dropping it. It's not a banger, I would say, but it's an okay song. It's not bad. Okay, so this next thing is I'm very, very happy to do. It's Entertainment Central. Lee Kimbrell is starting a podcast with just by himself. It's the Absolute Lee Show. Dog, if you need to watch that. He hasn't released any episodes yet. It's starting March 3rd. He's gonna release the first episode today, and I cannot wait to watch it. That's going to be so funny. A podcast with just Lee himself. I'm hyped for it, but I cannot recommend that enough. Love this man Lee, and he's so funny. I just know it's gonna be a great podcast for sure. I'm curious what he's gonna post it on. I'm hoping it's the whole rigmarole of YouTube, Spotify, Apple. There's another one. There's like a weird off market one that actually gets listens every now and then. I'm like, what? Where is that? It's like iHeart, but like I don't think it's iHeart anymore. I think they changed. No, it might still be iHeart. Either way, I hope it's all of them because that way he'll have the biggest reach for people to be able to watch him. Because that man needs to hit that stride and start going up. He's already touring with Theo. This shit's crazy. But I know it's going to be a fantastic pod. Hopefully he does guests too. That'd be cool. If you see that man talking to random people that he fucks with, that'd be funny. So go listen. It comes out on Mondays, like mine. So there you go. If you're listening to this, go ahead, listen to the one he released today as well. So before I close out with shout out to a real one, I'm gonna do a ramble tune. And I had three things on like listed that I was gonna talk about. The first one was Casey Anthony. Dude, that was crazy. She did like a Substack promo, which I'm not even gonna get into it because it was just a weird video. Second was John Cena turning heel because, dude, I saw the funniest fucking memes about that. Of like, there was one that was like Make a Wish kids asking for a refund, and it was just a funny meme underneath. Kids with Down syndrome punching their TV. There was so many jokes going crazy because apparently he attacked Cody Rhodes under the orders of The Rock. It was a whole thing apparently at the Elimination Chamber. But the one I chose that I'm going to actually ramble about is the Oscars, man. And it was yesterday. It was on March 2nd on Sunday. Dog, that shit is. Oh, so to start it off, I'm not gonna do any awards or anything like that because I couldn't care less. I don't care about what the nominations are, who's in the crowd. I don't care about any of that. I'm here to talk about how fucking lame it was. I've come to terms that these award shows are already just gonna be shit, but this was just like blatant in our eyes. One of them said, I think it was De Niro, just straight up said, fuck Trump. I was like, guys, I mean, what do you think you're gonna gain out of this? Like, really? Are you gonna get a shit ton more people to go watch your movie because you said fuck Trump? If anything, the people you would gain, there's no way it's the amount that you're gonna lose from people who like Trump. You know what I'm saying? It's just a weird look on Hollywood. And every time I see some like a Oscar speech, the one speech every single time I always go to the Ricky Gervais, and I don't even know what year it was. It was a while ago, but his man, that's what I want to see again. I don't know who's gonna be the next Ricky Gervais exposing speech, but it would probably be somebody like Tony Hinchcliffe or Andrew Schultz. It'd be a comedian that's just accepted the fate of like I'm gonna do it. If they kill me, we know why. So I mean, they're out there. I know they are, but it's all up to those the people in position to give Andrew or Tony that opportunity because I could only assume Ricky Gervais didn't have all of that speech just because I know there's like a teleprompter that he reads off of to make everything more smooth and easier. So there's some stuff that has to be given like in to proofread to make sure it was okay to be read out in front of everybody. But there's some stuff for sure he had off the dome that was not on there because even if you go back and rewatch, it's like 7 or 8 minutes. You should watch it. It is it's crazy to see the crowd's reaction because you see Tom Hanks like this for like at least 3 times, 4 times. It's wild. But he tapped in on everybody. It was from like crazy extreme jokes to like your short jokes. I was like, hey man, he's got all of them in the bag. I respect it. Shout out Ricky Gervais for that. We need another that Ricky Gervais speech. And I really think it would be some sort of Tony Hinchcliffe or Andrew Schultz that'll do it. There was another thing. It was like Kieran Culkin, which is Macaulay Culkin's brother, I'm pretty sure. His speech went viral because he made a joke to his wife about being like, oh, let's have 2 more kids, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's either shitting on him or they're praising him because he did like a pro family joke, I guess, which is wild to be shitting on him for like joking to his wife about wanting to have more kids while in the same Oscars you talk about pro abortion. So you can support the pro abortion side, but you can't support the family side. It's just wild to me. Okay, so to end it off, I'm gonna do what I always do. Shout out a real one. And man, this one's long overdue. It sucks that it's episode 9 and I'm just getting to my boy. But it is a well-deserved shout out to the man JP, Jockus, J Pizzle, whatever you want to call him. Shout out to the boy. he's a real one for sure. He can take jokes. He's usually the end of the joke, like the butt of the joke. But hey, he's he can take them. He's nah, but for real, shout out to JP, dude. He is funny as shit. He's nicer than majority of the friends in the friend group, I would say. He also supports the pod. Well, I think he watches the pod. I know he watches the actual YouTube videos. But he's also the only motherfucker in the group that is out there trying to work with fucking space. So hey man, that's wait. Dude, there's no way it's not gonna do it again. Oh, I got one. I feel so stupid just trying to do this. Connor sent me a video that says all the gestures to trigger reaction effects in FaceTime. I got that one up. It takes a little bit to go, but I got it. Let me get the. Oh, there we go. You just have to be patient. I'm very okay. I was just being impatient. So, like I was trying to say, he's the only one of us that is trying to work with space. So that's pretty. Just gotta be patient. Nice. That's pretty cool. But yeah, sorry again, JP. I got distracted by gestures. The having to wait while you do the gesture is crazy. But shout out that man JP. He's awesome. And that is it for episode 9. I will see you in the next one.